all of you fell in love with beef chow fun at your favorite Chinese restaurant, and then when you come home and try and recreate the dish, you're wondering why you can't just do it. Now, before we start cooking, I'm gonna give you 5 tips on how you can make better beef chow fun at home. Hey, what's up everyone? So I've been getting a lot of questions on making beef chow fun. I made a video about a year and a half ago, and so far I get a decent amount of comments asking with certain questions like what kind of oil do I use? How do I keep the noodles from not sticking? What kind of wok to use? And even questions about the soy sauce that I use. So today I'm going to answer all of those questions, and by the end of this video you're going to learn how to make some really good beef chow fun, or even lo mein, or even just any stir fry, because what I teach you here in this video is going to up the level of your Asian recipes. Now, my first big tip to help you make better beef chow fun at home is to use really high heat. I have made fire! Because in the Chinese restaurants, that's what they use. They use this really amazing high amount of flame. It's super hot heat, and you cannot recreate that kind of heat at home unless you want to burn it down. I'm sure you love your home, so heat, the fire, that is the most critical point in making a really good beef chow fun or a lo mein or any really good Asian stir fries, because in Chinese we have a term called wok hei. So wok hei literally means breath of the wok. Think of the fire as the air that the wok needs to breathe, to live. So it is a combination of the fire and the wok that creates this really nice, kind of like a char taste to it that we all know and fell in love with at our favorite Chinese restaurants. But there are techniques that you can use to achieve that same level of flavor. There is a hack where you can turn your gas stove into a super flame beast. One of the chefs that I really admire is J. Kenji Lopez Alt, one of the coolest chef names ever. He shows a hack on how you can adjust your gas range. But before you go ahead and try that hack out, make sure you have a fire extinguisher or check your home insurance policy. But anyways, I'll put a full link to that video down below. You can check it out. All right, so now if you don't want to turn your gas range into a flame beast, what you can do is just cook your hor fun noodles at a high flame, the highest setting that you can get your induction stove or your gas range, as high as it can go. Because if you cook with too low of a heat, what's going to happen is your noodles is going to steam. Making this kind of noodle dish is called a stir fry. I bit my tongue. Take 2. Making this kind of noodle dish is called a stir fry, not stir steam. Because what the high heat does is it kicks the moisture out from the ingredients. And as the water gets kicked out, the seasoning that you add, the soy sauce, the oyster sauce, dark soy sauce, it gets into the noodle. Guys, I'm sorry, I don't have any expensive graphics, so I can't show you. So all I can do is just use my hands and explain to you the best I can with my words. So I don't have any money for expensive graphics. My wife only gives me like $6 to make these kind of videos. She's afraid that if I get more money, I'll spend it on like cheap candy and Coca-Cola. All right, so most important tip is to have a really hot fire, okay? All right, tip number 2, the wok, okay? A very key integral part of making a really good stir-fry noodle dish like beef chow fun is to have a wok. But not just any wok, okay? You need a well-seasoned wok. A wok is specially designed for stir fries. The way that it is shaped, it absorbs a lot of heat from the bottom, and then on the top, it keeps more heat in so that it can cook foods more evenly. That is one of the benefits of having a wok. So your favorite Chinese restaurant, they always use woks. It could be a steel wok, it could be a cast iron wok, but it is never ever a non-stick wok. The reason why is going back to my first tip, right? Using high flame, right? A wok with a non-stick coating will not last in that kind of heat, especially when you're using a stainless steel spatula. That is the reason why any professional Chinese restaurant will not have any non-stick woks inside their kitchen. Now, if you want to buy a good wok, I'll put a link down below so you can go check it out, okay? What I have here is a stainless steel wok. As you can see, it's very thin, and I highly recommend that if you want to really cook Chinese food or any types of Asian food really well, you really need to have a good sturdy wok. So what does a well-seasoned wok mean, okay? This wok here, this color wasn't the original color. It was a dull silver color, okay? What I did was I coated this wok with oil, and then I sealed the oil in with my gas burner, okay? I turned it up on a high flame, and then I kept it there for a really long time, heating up each area of the wok until the oil seals and binds in to the steel of the wok, okay? This process of seasoning a wok is what makes the wok non-stick. So that is a very important step. Whenever you buy a brand new stainless steel wok, you have to season it, or else it will not have the non-stick capabilities, okay? But eventually someday, whenever I buy a brand new wok, I'll make a video and show you how to season it. When you're cooking stir fries, especially a beef chow fun, right? Because the noodles are kind of thick, they're kind of wide, you have to make sure that there's enough space in your wok to handle the ingredients. If you put too many ingredients into the wok and you don't have high heat, what's gonna happen is it's gonna steam because the ingredients is overwhelming the heat. And that is why if you're at home, right, and you have a small wok or a small pan, you should never dump too many ingredients into the wok. Now this recipe that I'm gonna show you for my beef chow fun is gonna be half of what I made in my original video. So there's gonna be 250 grams of Hor Fun noodles. Now 250 grams of noodles is gonna serve at least one person, okay? So I recommend that at home, if you have a small pan, right, smaller than 13 inches, I recommend that you cook your beef chow funs or lo meins or stir fries in several batches, all right? Because again, you want to get your food as close as possible to the Chinese restaurants. And in Chinese restaurants, they do not overcrowd their pans. If you go to a really good Chinese restaurant and you order, let's say 4 orders of beef chow fun, right? Most likely they'll cook that order in 2 batches because they have bigger woks and they have a higher flame output, so they can do that. And by the way, if you have a cast iron skillet, those will work better than a regular frying pan, okay? At my parents' place, they used to have a cast iron wok, but eventually when I moved out, somewhere along the way, my mom threw it away because I guess it got too heavy for her to use, because cast iron woks are very heavy. If you go to Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, you see those hawker stands, those bai pai dongs, most of them use a heavy cast iron wok. And that is the reason why the food tastes so damn good. So for you folks watching at home, right, if you have a cast iron wok, keep it, okay? It's a family heirloom. It'll most likely outlive you, and you can pass it on to your future generations. And I'll also link down below a really good, interesting article on why a wok has more advantages and benefits to cooking stir fries than a skillet. It's a really good article, so if you're interested in that kind of stuff, please go check it out. I'll put a link down below. Okay, so tip number 3, I actually talked about this, which is don't overcrowd the pan, okay? Because one of the biggest problems that people have making beef chow fun is that they say that their noodles are too sticky. One of the reasons why is you're overcrowding your pan because the moisture is what is making the noodles stick together. Also, keep moving the noodles around a lot. Again, you want to make sure that you want to kick out most of the moisture from the beef Hor Fun noodles, okay? That's all I really have to say about that. There's really not much to explain. Keep the ingredients moving around, okay? Okay, so tip number 4. Another reason why people complain about the noodles sticking too much is because most likely you're using noodles that are kind of old, okay? Now, my Hor Fun noodles, okay? This packet here, I bought at my local wet market. I bought this morning, and most likely this was made while I was sleeping last night. Right here is a package of supermarket Hor Fun noodles, okay? Now it is packaged like this, sealed in a box. There is a manufacturing date, all right? So this was produced in January 22nd, and it expires March 22. Now that's kind of nuts. My opinion is that nobody should be selling Hor Fun noodles until March 22nd. That's kind of insane, okay? Because this stuff, it does not last, especially in the refrigerator. This fresh packet of Hor Fun noodles here is probably the most that it can last is maybe about 2 to 3 days in the refrigerator, and that's it, okay? Now I had a question on how to keep these Hor Fun noodles longer in the refrigerator. My answer is don't. Just make a bunch of beef chow funs, right? Put it in a plastic box, keep it in the refrigerator. It should last about 3 to 4 days, but most likely it won't because you're gonna be eating the beef chow fun. So I know most of you do not have the advantage of buying Hor Fun noodles at a local wet dry market like me. Most likely the chances is you're buying packets of Hor Fun noodles like this at your local market. So these days, if you're living in North America or most likely most of Europe, you should be able to find fresh Hor Fun noodles. Any country with a large Asian population should have a factory that produces fresh Hor Fun noodles, rice noodles. So if you don't want any problems with sticky noodles, always buy fresh as possible. Now, I said this was manufactured in January 22. So I bought this packet yesterday, but I'm making this video 4 days, about 4 or 5 days after this was manufactured, okay? So this is 5 days old, okay? I'm gonna show you how it looks first compared to how the fresh ones look, all right? Okay, right now, as you can see clearly that it's stuck together, right? It's clumped up and it feels kind of hard. No, not hard, but it's a little firm, okay? Yeah, that's the word. It's firm and it's not too difficult to separate, but you know, when I show you the fresh one, you're gonna see a clear difference, okay? So this is how a packaged Hor Fun noodle from a supermarket looks like, and I'll just even show you. Look at that. See, it's totally taking the shape of the box that it was packaged with. So I'm going to put that back in. Okay, now this is a packaged Hor Fun noodle from my local wet dry market, and I just show you. I just hold it like this, and you see it's kind of, you know, it looks limp, right? That's the way it's supposed to be. Now the reason why my Hor Fun noodles are packaged like this is because when the wet dry markets, when they purchase it, it comes in a very large sheet because that's the way factories make it. They make it in really large sheets. The shops inside the wet dry markets, they're the ones who cut it down to size to make noodles. And look at that. As you can see, one big difference is you can see my hand is oily. That's because they cover it with oil. The oil seals in the moisture, and the moisture is what makes it, you know, so flexible and pliable. Now, as you can see, one thing about the Hor Fun noodles, flat rice noodles in Thailand, is that they make it very thin. All right, it's a lot thinner than the rice noodles that you find in like North America and most likely Europe. And as you can see, the shape is not cut in that familiar strip that we see in beef Chow Fun noodles. So, you know, this is what I have to work with. Okay, I'm not complaining. But the fresh Hor Fun noodles that you find at your local Asian market, those are more of the Chinese Hor Fun noodle cut that you'll find. But my point is that you can see that fresh Hor Fun noodles is a lot better than the refrigerated supermarket Hor Fun noodles. Now, if you cannot find fresh Hor Fun noodles and you're using these packaged ones, what you can do is you can stick these into the microwave for at least like maybe 30 seconds on a low setting, and it should loosen up so that you can use it to make some beef chow funs, okay? All right, so tip number 5, and that is oil. Okay, so there's something that I'm a little bit guilty of, but let me get to that later on. The reason why beef chow funs at restaurant tastes very good is because they use a lot of oil, okay? Now, when you watch recipes from chefs making beef chow fun, they show you the amount of oil that they use. Usually they show you that they use like 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons, which is what I do too, okay? I admit it, all right? I'm guilty of. And that is because, you know, we sort of get shamed for using too much oil because, you know, we watch the news and they say like oil is too bad for you and that kind of stuff. But anyways, we're not here to talk about, you know, whether oil is bad for you or not, okay? My point is that in the Chinese restaurants, when they cook your beef chow fun or any lo mein or stir fry, they usually use a lot of oil, okay? Now in Chinese restaurants, they do not use tablespoons to dose out oil, okay? They use these ladles, either ladles or squirt bottles. I mean, look, whenever you order a box of takeout beef chow fun, right? Every time you finish it and you look down at the bottom of that box, at least half a tablespoon to a full tablespoon of oil. And then you look on the side of the boxes, what else do you see? Yeah, you see oil, okay? And here's the kicker. You ate most of it. So my point is, I think a lot of the time people don't want to cook beef chow fun at home it's because they don't really want to know how much of the oil goes in. So it's just easier to let somebody cook it so nobody has to think about it. Okay, now I had some questions about what kind of oil to use. In Chinese restaurants, it is peanut oil, canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, and probably something else. Even growing up at my parents' place, yeah, that's what they use. They use peanut oil, corn oil, and sometimes even soybean oil. So Chinese restaurants, they shouldn't be using olive oil. If they do, that's something new, okay? And then certain Asian countries, they actually use lard. Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, they use lard, which is also why their foods taste so damn good too. Okay, so it's up to your own personal choice about how much oil you want to use, okay? I leave that up to you. But normally when I make beef chow fun at home, I typically add more oil than I show on my videos, okay? So I'm just letting you guys know, okay? Oil is one of the key component of making some tasty beef chow fun, as well as making your noodles not stick, okay? So it's a combination of the oil and a combination of the heat and the combination of a seasoned wok that helps prevent your hor fun noodles from getting too sticky, okay? All right, enough talk. Let's start cooking. So right here, I have about 100 grams of beef. Right here, this is flank steak, which is commonly used for making beef stir fries. And I'm gonna marinate the beef with like about half a tablespoon of soy sauce, just a teaspoon of Chinese cooking wine, half a teaspoon of pure sesame oil, about a quarter teaspoon of ground white pepper, and just like 2 teaspoons of water. Then a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. Baking soda is a meat tenderizer, okay? Now, if you're using like sirloin steak, rib eyes, you don't need to add the baking soda, but normally you use baking soda for like cheap cuts of steak. Flank steak is really not like a cheap cut, but still I find that baking soda does help with the texture of the meat, okay? So now we're just gonna mix it up for now. So I've been massaging it for at least a minute, all right? And I'm gonna show you something. See, bottom of the bowl has no seasoning ingredients at all, so I know that this beef has absorbed the seasoning sauces. All right, so next up is just a tablespoon of oil. Now you might be asking, hey, why didn't I just add the tablespoon of oil with everything else, right? Well, we all know that water and oil does not mix, right? So if you added oil into it, what's gonna happen is the oil is gonna create a barrier around the beef, and then the other seasoning ingredients can't really get in. So just give that a toss a few times, and that's it. Okay, now it's time to make the sauce. Just need a tablespoon of soy sauce, light soy sauce. Now, I also get questions about what kind of soy sauce did I use, because I always tell people I use light soy sauce, all right? So this is the brand that I use, ProBridge, yeah. I think a lot of people, they get confused. Whenever I say light soy sauce, it doesn't mean low sodium, okay? This is full sodium soy sauce. What the light refers to is the viscosity of the liquid of the soy sauce. You see, it's free flowing, and that's what they mean by light. Now dark soy sauce, which I'm gonna add right now, I need half a tablespoon. And as you can see, the viscosity is thicker. And that's what they mean by dark. Yeah, I know it's confusing, right? But anyways, dark soy sauce is less saltier. It is more sweet, if anything, and it is also mainly used for coloring. So the nice, deep, dark brown color that you see on beef chow fun noodles, it comes from this. And I also need a tablespoon of hoyao, oyster sauce. Okay, and that is enough. And that's it, man. Not complicated at all, right? And then I just need a little bit of onion, okay? Maybe, I'm just gonna eyeball it, all right? I'm just gonna say like a quarter of a medium-sized onion. Okay, there we go. And looks like that. And that's all we need. And right here is just a about 50 grams of bean sprouts. These are, it's like a handful, okay? And finally, I just need some green onions. But typically, if you can find Chinese chives, I recommend using Chinese chives. And we don't need a lot. All right, and that's it. Let's start cooking. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cook up my beef. I have my flame here on a medium-high heat. And how do you know that your wok is hot enough? When you see smoke come out, then you know it's hot enough. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of oil. Spread the oil around. Drop in the beef. And you're just looking to put some color into your beef right now. And all you need to do right now is to cook the beef until it's about 75% done. All right, like that. Okay, some nice color on the beef. And then we're going to remove the beef. Try and keep as much of the oil in the pan as possible, okay? There, some nice looking beef. The reason why you don't want to cook the beef in that hot wok from start to finish is because by the time you finish, this is gonna get overcooked, and that is why you remove it. All right, I'm gonna turn my heat back on to a medium high heat. I'm just gonna add 1 tablespoon of oil. Because my wok is still plenty hot, I can add in my onion. When my onion turns translucent, which is right now, I'm gonna throw in my Hor Fun noodles. And I'm gonna switch my flame on to a high heat. Keep moving it. Okay? And see, it's really, really fast, especially if you have a high heat. Your noodles are gonna brown, and that's what I'm looking for. It's got that dark char color on it. That's what you're looking for. Time for me to toss in the sauce. Keep moving it. Keep stirring around. Toss in the beef. Toss in the sprouts. Really fast, you see? Really, really fast. And I'm constantly moving. That is the key. Okay, I'm gonna I switched off the heat. Gonna drop in spring onions. I'm just gonna let the residual heat cook down the spring onions. Look at that. Check that out, man. My Chow Hor. So there you go. My 5 tips on cooking the best beef chow fun. Chow Hor. Right there, my friends. You are gonna love this. I do make deliveries, so you all know the drill. I only accept Bitcoins and Camels as payment. So I hope you guys follow my 5 tips. I'm pretty sure that it's gonna help you guys make better beef chow fun at home. So I'll see you all again next time. Take care and goodbye.